Gonna record. All right. Hey, some serious disclaimers and content warning. I talk about all things menstrual, queer, adult, crazy. Okay, I don't know, maybe not that crazy, but some serious stuff and some not. Some informative, some things just fun for me to talk about. I'm not a professional and I never want to be. I cite resources on my resource guide if you want to be in the know, and I'm always open to corrections and additions. And yeah, I'm just a person talking about my experiences, what I've learned and gathered, and I love doing it, and that's why I'm doing it. All right, okay, love ya. Okay, now we're gonna record the whole thing, the whole podcast. Okay, wait. Done. Save. This is the real technical side if you don't know. Okay. All right, everybody, welcome to the podcast. You know what I didn't do? It was take out my soundboard to put over here. So, we're gonna do a real quick intro. Yeah, that's my intro. Hey everybody, I am Ash, they, them, genderqueer, biracial, gay. I'm on day 2 of my cycle, and I'm feeling better than day 1. I'm feeling like lower back cramps mostly. Yesterday was like a lot of more front cramps than today, and mostly in the evening. In the morning, nothing. But I noticed like when I wind down and I'm not moving, the cramps will start intensifying because my body needs to start pushing stuff out and moving stuff out. I'm also feeling like less. Yesterday I was a hot mess and I cried and wanted to scream and do all this stuff. Today, a lot of very chill, very relaxed. Yesterday I was really upset. It was like, I didn't really start my period until afternoon. So that during the day I was so stressed at work, everything just like boiled up, and my work is not stressful at all. Um, and then I was just like thinking about things. I had a lot of things on my heart, and I just couldn't get them out of my head. A lot of them relating to my gender and just feeling like people don't see me the way that I want them to see me. And from a previous conversation, it just kept rolling around in my head, and I was just feeling like so overwhelmed and upset. And I like talked to so many people yesterday, which is so great. Like I just like calling someone really does help, even to get me out of my head, to not talk about it, or to talk about it and like have that catharsis, like crying, like release. And then I got home and I did all the things to self-soothe. And then today I went to gay beach day, and I got a tan, if you can't tell, and which is super nice because I think like in the winter you can hardly tell I am not white. I feel like, you might be able to tell, but like for me I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm white. And so it's really nice to get some sunshine for my mental health, and just to be around some really affirming people after the day I had yesterday. And so it's still nice and relaxing. I am bleeding a lot, and it was really interesting because I went to the beach, and I've never, oh my God, what? I don't know what was about to come out of my mouth just now. I have not used tampons in a few months. I use Bam Body period underwear, Remember that name, Bam Body. We're definitely going to talk about Bam Body today. We're not going to talk about it too much, but I wore tampons today for the beach, and I bled through them, quickly. And I hadn't used them in so long. Like, I hardly had them. I used the brand Lola, which is doesn't have bleach in it. It's 100% cotton organic. They did have like plastic wrap and stuff, but that's like what if I have to use tampons, that's what I use. But I bled through them a lot. I bled through on my towel a little bit, but my towel was brown, so no one could really see it. I took tampons to the bathroom, but I didn't feel, I felt like slightly like wanting to hide them, but then at one point I was just like, got my tampon out, and that's a lighter, but like that's how I was eventually. Um, and it was nice. It was nice to get in the water and move around in the water. I definitely got some like good low key like physical activity in, and tried to like lay down and relax. And I really, lots of self-soothing and nurturing and being in a affirming space and getting sunshine. It was so healing to what I was going through the previous day with just thinking about this interaction I had. It was really nice. But yeah, so now I'm feeling like a big drop in my hormones, and I feel like more grounded. And I think it's kind of like all kind of, and when we talk about, I kind of mix things in with my spirituality because I'm a very active person. And so when I'm on my cycle, I do feel like a strengthened root. And it's a very earthy time for me. As far as my body, okay, so like I am starting to deflate. Like, so last week, yeah, whenever I recorded last, I was still in my luteal phase. I feel like you probably can't tell a big difference. I can tell because it's my body, but like I can feel my face getting less swollen, more defined, but not quite all the way like it usually is. But my face is getting more defined. I just ate, so it's kind of be hard to tell, but like at the beach especially, I felt like less bloated than I usually did, than I did last week anyway. And so I'm still quite bloated today. Um, but I don't feel like I feel like it's going down and fluctuating with when I'm eating and drinking. So like earlier in the day before I really had a big, huge meal, I didn't feel like as bloated. So it's really subtle, but I'm deflating, essentially. You probably won't be able to tell. I probably still look the same, but for me, it's like I kind of tell. My words are coming better because the brain hemispheres are so synchronized at this time. And I kind of got a little lubed up at the beach from just being around people and getting some social lubrication, so I'm talking more. But yeah, so that is day 2 and how I'm doing. And today, because I'm bleeding, we're going to be talking about bleeding. Bleeding. Oh my god, I'm just like, bleeding. Bleeding. Bitch. Bleeding. Oh my god, that took forever. Okay, so, hold on, you know what? I have a really great idea. There we go. You don't know what I did, but I'm going to make it easier for me to do that. Okay, so let's talk about bleeding. Let's just jump right in because I have a lot of really good things to say about bleeding. I love bleeding. I don't like all of bleeding. I complain, I do complain. I am like, someone who holds it all too, because I do feel pain. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I'm like, I want to feel pain. I'm one of those crazy people who's like, I'm not going to take medication for it. I want to feel it. I want to feel it. And I think I do have a higher pain tolerance than other people do for a lot of different reasons. I'll get into a little bit more. You'll be like, oh wow, yeah, you could probably take a lot of pain. There's a lot of trauma reasons why I am good with pain, but then there's a lot of, I don't know. I want to feel it. I want to embody it. I want to get through it. I use my roller oil. I do massages. I do stretching a lot. A lot of like toe touching really helps with my lower back stuff, and also helps a lot of stretches that um, involve like your hips really, really help. There's this awesome yoga video with this like Indian yoga practitioner, and a lot of it has to do with like the hips and opening the hips, and I really, really like that kind of stuff. Like she has you doing like butterfly and doing like this for a long time. And it really helps a lot. So I do like complain a little bit, but I also don't want to take medication for it, and it's like I'm taking medication for mental illness, and it's like I'm a really naturopathic kind of person. Regardless, I encompass it all because I understand all of it is correct, but all of it is helpful. So I use all of it. So I'm going to use like, I'm going to be as natural as I can be until it gets to that point where I need medication, which is why I take medication for mental illness. But for menstruation, I use my clary sage. I can, if I do have peppermint, that's always really great. If I have a hot pad, that's really great. Luckily right now I have this really cool massager that I need to, next time I'm bleeding and on this, I'm going to show you the massager that I have because it heats up. It's really nice. So let's get into about bleeding. This is our seasonal, this is our energetic winter. And if you bleed on the new moon, like me, this is the new moon phase, which is a good time for like manifesting and like planning your entire month, which is what I have to do right now. I have a whiteboard that has just like my entire month, and I put like my appointments or fun events that I might want to go to. I put down when each phase of my cycle I'm going through and what I might want to plan just for that. And yeah, so that's really, yeah, I really like that aspect because it's the new moon, it's the time for manifestation, so it's already a good time for me to be planning out my month, especially with, it's kind of like a low physical activity but a good mental activity, and that's pretty good because like in your luteal and bleeding phase, that's what we're really good at, is kind of like reading and writing kind of stuff. Sometimes, so there's like a couple days that I have total period brain, and I'm like, what are words and letters? Like, what the fuck? And period brain is a real fucking thing. It's like, yeah, I'm like, what's going on? But okay, I'm gonna read through some stuff. One of the superpowers you get, thanks Coach Cora, is that both hemispheres of the brain are active and interconnected. The data collected in your subconscious during the month comes up, which is why yesterday I was so fucked up about whatever. And so you're more like intuitive, and I think I might have mentioned this last time, but you know, people used to, and maybe still do in other cultures that I'm not aware of, but not, it's obviously not in my culture right now, would go to elders in their luteal and bleeding phase because they were so intuitive and so aware, because when your body's in a vulnerable state, biologically, you have a heightened awareness to protect yourself, and this heightened awareness brought a good intuition to be like a counselor, or like a social counselor, a political counselor in this time. So the hormones you want to go that are going on in this time are this hormone called a prostaglandin. It basically just helps your uterus contract, so it can squeeze out the blood. And so, like, I don't know, like, I find, like, doing stuff to kind of help that. Like, I know it seems, like, counterintuitive, but, like, putting, like, my hands, like, here and, like, bending over. Or just, like, it seems like it wouldn't help, but it helps me. Um, I feel like I get, like, less cramps that way. Um, the supportive foods for this time. So, like, my mom, she always told me, so my mom's from Ecuador. So she always, like, makes me lentils and lentil soup and stuff, and she told me, like, when you're on your period, like, you should eat lentils because of, like, the iron and protein and stuff. And so I always do, and honestly it's been, like, a really big point of like, that's my comfort food, and also, like, my poor food when I'm not, like, when I just always have, like, a thing of lentils and rice. And so that's what my mom does. But I also add other stuff to it. Oh my gosh, I'm getting texts. I don't know, whatever. You are losing nutrients, and how do I show less of that? I don't know. Whatever. Okay, you'll just have to deal with my phone. Okay, so these are some of the things. You're losing nutrients when your lining is shedding. So things that are nutrient dense, like seaweed. Today I ate a bunch of wasabi seaweed. Purple cabbage, string beans, berries, non-fish seafood, which I'm like, I'm vegan, but you can eat, like, octopus, squid, eel, I don't know, crab, rose petals, rose hips, and raspberry leaf. I've never tried raspberry leaf. I am interested in it. I'm going to share another experience that I had with an herbal thing, which is why I'm, like, hesitant to take the raspberry leaf, but I'm interested in it. Some things that I got from, like, I don't know where I learned this information. Maybe Flow, or it was either Flow or Healthline, but they said you're more prone to infection in your reproductive organs than when you're on your cycle. And I'm guessing it's because your lining is shedding, and so you have less stuff on your lining, and also your cervix is a little more open. And that, I'm guessing, I don't know. And then the other thing is, pap smears are more accurate when you're not on your period. So if you have a pap, if you need to schedule one, schedule it for when you're not on your period. Estrogen drops. And so it's really important to be aware that you can get muscle injuries. So it's good to, like, stretch and stuff. Estrogen's really good for, like, lubing up the joints, and also really good for energy. There's this awesome podcaster right now that I put in the resource guide, who makes a podcast about menstruation and sports, and I would definitely check that out if you're into sports and exercise. But yeah, at this time you have more chances of getting a muscle tear because of the hormone levels, with low estrogen. So the exercises I put for, like, supportive exercises are things like walks, legs up the wall, restorative yoga, but people can exercise on their period, and, like, some slow exercises really do help with the cramps, and lightening the load. And I find, like, after, like, the second half of my period, I do have more energy again. So it's, like, just, like, listen to your body, and, like, these are just, like, things that are supportive, but not, like, 100%, like, you should do this, it's just, like, helpful. So your cervix position is, like, lower in your uterus. It's firm, it's partially open. Apparently it's a good time to touch it. I'm not gonna touch it, but it's the best. If you ever feel curious about your cervix, this is a good time to go and touch it, because it's low. But you shouldn't do that also at the same time. Do whatever you want. I don't really care. I'm not a professional. I can't, like, you do what you want with your body. But, like, um, because the cervix is open, it's not a good time to go and poke around in there because of the infection. You know, you have a higher chance of getting infections that way, but you really shouldn't. So, you know, do what you will, do what you want, do what makes you happiest. If you want to go touch your cervix, go do it. Like, whatever. This is a good time. It's low. You'll definitely find it. Probably, maybe. I don't know. I haven't gone poking around there during this time, so I don't know. But speaking about poking around there, let's talk about masturbation and sexual arousal. So, as you know, if you are a menstruator, you get horny around your period, and there's a biological reason why, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of sources, okay, first of all, I'm just going to read this in order but I'm going to tell you why. Many sources say that masturbation while you're bleeding helps alleviate cramps, but it hasn't been, like, scientifically proved, but a lot of people say so. I say so, so go try it, see if it's true for you. And then it hasn't been proved by science as well, but it helps make them shorter. Like, so, like, okay, so, like, I read this, and okay, so one time I was in Hawaii, and I was, like, traveling and stuff, and I wanted to make my period shorter, so I just, like, and, you know, I did the you know, and it worked, okay, because I read that masturbating makes your periods shorter, and it really worked, and I think, someone tell me, please tell me, I don't know, I'm just freaking talking shit, but, like, you know, your muscles contract, which is what they already are doing anyway to get all the blood out. You shed some blood, it gets stuff going, it gets stuff out there, and then you don't have to, your body's not working as hard, you know? So I would suggest you try it and see if it makes it shorter. You probably, you know, I think you got to do it, like, more than once, more than you usually would in order to get this effect, but I would say to try it. And record it so you can give it to science, and then we can have a real article that says, because that's, you know, we need that. This was such a hard piece of information to find. I couldn't find this anywhere. But I don't even remember where I found it. I think I found it on either a sex blog or a sex toy blog. Because I kept searching about masturbation and menstruation, and all it said was, like, yeah, go do it, alleviates cramps. I'm like, okay, but that's not what I want to know. I want to know about toys. A lot of people masturbate with toys, and with the information that I, like, received about, like, the pap smears and your cervix position and the infections, and, you know, it's blood and mucus and all of this other stuff, all this good stuff, by the way. It's got the goods in there. Like, you got your DNA in there, you've got some mucus in there, it's good stuff. But anyway, so I wanted to, no, we're not there yet. So basically, if your toys are non-porous, so if they're pure silicone, ABS, metal, or glass, then it should be pretty hygienic, you know, just wash them. If it is a porous material, which I did not get that information of what is a porous material, but if your toy is not silicone, ABS, metal, or glass, then you can use a condom on the toy and then wash it afterward. And, one day when everyone gets a vasectomy or has, like, whatever, like, and we don't need condoms anymore, we could still probably use them to put on our toys to do that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know. Though I'm being funny. I know a lot of people are talking about getting vasectomies because of the laws going on right now. If you're completely unaware, there's some laws going down about strict abortion ban laws. So use a condom on your toys and with partners, and eventually one day, there's eventually one day, if we don't need condoms anymore, you can still use them for your toys for when you're on your period and you want to use that special that special porous dildo. You could still use it. Anyway, got off on a tangent. So let's talk about the hormones. The reasons why you get horny is, there's a lot of reasons why you get horny. Some people are just like, wow, I have no idea, why am I so horny on my period? This should be like the most unsexy time. And I think a lot of the reason why we think that is because our culture has been so disgusted to the point where, like, I mean, we talked about the Lister's towels and how they just didn't want people knowing that you even had a period. That it's like, it's actually a really sexy time because just a couple days after bleeding, your estrogen starts to rise, okay? And your progesterone does not rise. So estrogen is the fun, yes, it makes us feel good. It's the fun hormone. And you're still bleeding at this point when the estrogen is rising. So you're getting hornier and it's lubricated. And then your uterus is contracting. So this area is being really activated. And there's a lot of sensation going on down there. So, like, on top of the hormones rising, and then the lubrication and all of the sensations going on down there, it's normal to be aroused. A lot of, literally, like, blood is being flowed to that area. A lot of energy is being flowed to that area. It's a very sacral and root activation period of life. And so, it's very important. You could be, it's good to move with that, it really is. I mean, there's a lot of people who practice period sex and really, really endorse it. I'm neither gonna endorse nor what the opposite of that. This might be like the little bit of like witch in me, but like I think, like, when there's a lot of fluids involved, you're taking that this is totally spiritual and off the thing. When you're taking in someone else's DNA, you're putting that DNA in with your body. And I've heard, and I think more like this is more like a Latin American thing, but like when you have sex with someone and they're on their period, you start to go crazy about them and you fall in love really, really quick. And I think that's really true when any kind of fluids are involved, because their DNA is in yours, and the hormones that are, what are those things called? I'm like, phosphines? No, wait. Not endorphins, the ones that you do, it's this thing. You have this hormone and people are attracted to you, and I totally forgot what that's called, but that stuff is also in the fluids, okay? And then on top of that, they're giving you oxytocin, and it is like a drug. okay? And so that's why I am not having like period. I don't want to do that unless I'm really serious with somebody, because I'm giving them my sexual energy already. I mean, you're even doing that with vaginal discharge. You're giving them a little bit of your sexual energy, a little bit of your DNA, but I think it's even more so with period blood, because that is seriously like your whole months of lining, and that is the nutrients that you held in you for your creative energy. And that's really important stuff. It has stem cells, it has, I don't really know if it has stem cells, that's what I've heard, but it has all of this nutrient dense mineral blood. And I want to give that to somebody who is special and who I could probably stand falling in love with me after the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be able to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, you can be crazy about me. Because sometimes it's like, you don't want people to be crazy about you. But if you ever had period sex and that person is crazy about you, that's probably spiritually, something to think about, okay? Because that's what I've heard. What is that hormone called when you want, hormone when people are attracted to you? This is the way I Google things. Let me see, how are we doing on that? What is that called? Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Urgh. Yeah, I'm obviously going to take this out, probably not of the video, because I don't feel like doing that. So anyway, moving on. If you know the name of that hormone that I'm thinking about, let me know. It's not norepinephrine. It's all I have in my head right now is prostaglandin and progesterone, but it's not those things. It's definitely not those things, because those things are pretty not sexy. So let's talk about vaginal discharge, because I love vaginal discharge and I've talked about that a lot. After bleeding, it's normal to have some dryness, because nothing's really going on right now. Your estrogen is rising, and so you're going to start getting more lubricated again, but it's going to take some time to get there. So it's normal to have vaginal dryness at this time, like right after your period. And, use lube, use whatever, but yeah, that's kind of what's going on. Your mental health can be a little whack. I mean, for me, as you know, like, being mentally ill and then getting this big surge the day before the cycle, and then this really big drop. It was really intense. Progesterone drops and estrogen is low in the beginning. Your mood is less affected. And so, yeah, it's like this big drop. But in my case, it will be such relief. Such relief comes from that, because I get I have like OCD, and my symptoms get worse, and then, my stress, can make me become depressed and have those symptoms where I'm like, I need to be eating more, but like, I don't have so much of an appetite. That's just me. But able-bodied person, might just feel less affected, less moody, more, wow, that was a pretty crazy time. Now it's chill. For me, I'm like, ooh, finally, yes. Which is another reason why I like bleeding so much, because it is a good relief. But now I understand why, and I know now to reduce my stimuli before and try to make it a really smooth transition. And today was a lot of bliss, regardless of like the cramps and stuff going on. And so, yeah, that's what's going on mentally. Take care of yourselves and remember just to like plan ahead, have supports, make yourself a support group. Seriously. Like that's I love my support group and I love that they're so understanding that I'm going through a cycle because that's like one of the first things I tell them. I'm like when I call my support groups, I'm like, "Hey, I'm at this phase of my cycle, so I know I just need you to listen right now." And they're just like, "Okay, got it. You're at this phase of your cycle. Like, what's going on? Tell me your thoughts." And it's beautiful. So yeah, that's kind of really it about bleeding and why I like bleeding so much. And yeah, I hope that that was helpful. I'm sorry that I don't know the hormone that makes people attracted to you. What is that freaking called? When lions release it when they're in heat and they're like, be attracted to me. And we have it during ovulation. I'm so, what? I couldn't even like juggle it, but it's fine. It's fine. We're moving past that. We're all moving past that. Okay. I bet you some people are listening to this and they're going to be like, I know the word, I know the word. And they're just like yelling it at me. Okay, so I want to move on to another thing of another segment. But hold on, I need to pause real quick. We're moving on to another segment I like to call my period story. That was really, really loud and abrupt. But my period story today is brought to you by Diva Cup. Okay, my period story today is about bleeding. When I was bleeding, most of my stories are gonna be about bleeding. Some of them aren't, okay? But most of them are, because that's kind of like the most crazy time. But some of them aren't. Some of them, I have some stories that are going to be on ovulation and luteal phase, and you'll be like, wow, you made some mistakes. Today, I use Bam Body now. I did use a period cup for a year, and I stopped. And I'll talk about this more. I'm going to have a whole episode on these two things. I'm going to have a whole episode on my IUD, and I'm going to have a whole episode on, well, actually, this is probably the Diva Cup episode. But the reason why I stopped using a Diva Cup is because I have an IUD, and it was pulling on it and making my cramps worse, and that's specific to my body because a lot of people can use a Diva Cup with an IUD. However, this time I was in the middle of using my Diva Cup, and I was in the bathroom, and I was using it, and it was at a time where some people just weren't really supportive of me using a Diva Cup. And I thought it was so weird, because I was like, this is more natural. I'm producing way less waste than I usually would be. There's no risk of chemicals going into my body. It's reusable and holds on for longer. So I was like, why is everybody so freaked out? Like, my mom saw it and she was like, you better like wash that thing in alcohol. And I was like, why would I do that? Then I'd have like alcohol in the cooch. Like, that would be awful. And like I went to like a clinic one time with my boyfriend at the time, and they were like, what kind of product do you use? And I'm like, I use a menstrual cup. And the nurse did this. And my boyfriend at the time was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, I also was just like, yeah, I know what you're gonna, I know, but that's what I use. I was like, wow. And that was at a Planned Parenthood, okay? I was like, what the fuck? But it was also, okay, to be fair, it is a Planned Parenthood, but also it was in Utah, so I get it. Like, they're not privy to the menstrual cup life. Anyway, so I'm wearing this menstrual cup. Not everybody's super down with the menstrual cup. I'm in a place where I'm just living with my ex, okay? And I don't really have a lot of friends at that time. I'm in a state where I didn't have a lot of friends, just my ex, who's a man and not a menstruator. Okay, so I was going to change it, and I was in the bathroom. Why did this happen? Oh, okay. So when you take it out, you have to release like the suction in your in the cup before you take it out because it stays in by suctioning to the walls of your uterus. And that's why it doesn't like wiggle all around in there and then cause it to spill inside of you. So it's you have to when you do it, you kind of like here's like the cup, you kind of have to like go like this and then like scoop it out. Ooh, here, like you have to like break the suction and then scoop it out. That's a shell that I found at the beach today. Um, and I did that, but so I usually would do it like over the. I was afraid of doing it over the toilet because I was afraid I would drop it in the toilet, and usually I was peeing in there. I didn't would hate for that to happen because they're pretty pretty pricey. Okay. And I would not really want to wash it and then reuse it after I dropped it in the friggin' toilet. So I was afraid to pull it out over the toilet. And so I pulled it out over the floor, and usually that'd be fine. But this time it wasn't. So I pulled it out of me, and I was going to pour it in the toilet, and I pulled it out of me, and instead I dropped it all completely on the floor. And like that sucker was in for like the whole 12 hours. You can keep that shit in for 12 hours. I mean, so long as the cup doesn't overfill. Like, some people have really freaking heavy periods that, like, they're like, everyone's always just like, oh, you'll never actually bleed that much. Bullshit. People do bleed that much. You're just able-bodied. You just, like, bleed, like, the normal amount. I don't know. It's, like, a certain number of, like, teaspoons or milliliters or I don't know what the fuck. But some people be bleeding, okay? Some people are really bleeding out here. Not me. I've probably filled it up to the line. Because I kept it in for long enough. And those are like on heavy days. I don't usually bleed like up to that line. So anyway, I spilled it all on the floor. I have white tile. It's bright red. It looks like a murder scene in there. And I'm like laughing because luckily like it's in the evening. I'm alone. My partner can hear me and is like, what the fuck? But I'm like, shit, well, I have to clean this up. But also, I need to address that I'm, like, currently bleeding out, too. So I need to, like, shift some things around, okay? I cleaned the cup. It was so funny that I really wanted to take a picture. But I didn't have, like, the friends there with me at the time. If I did that now, I so would. I would have so freaking put that on my Instagram story. Be like, oh my god, look what I just freaking did and made a murder scene here. And so it just looked so picturesque because it was just spilled on the floor. I was like, this would be such a good, like, photogenic, like, horror, like, scene. And, like, that would just be so perfect. But I didn't have any thoughts in my head of how I could use it creatively. I was just like, okay, we need to stop myself from bleeding, and then we need to clean this up. So I think I just, like, washed the cup and put it back in. And what was tough about it was, like, I wanted to, like, wipe it around, but it just spread. And it was, like, the whole bathroom floor was covered in blood. So I had to, like, soak it, get, like, so many towels and, like, just really, like, soak it up and, like, then, like, scrub and actually, like, wipe it down and sanitize the area so no one's just like slipping in the, whatever. And so then by the end of it, you could hardly tell, but for a minute there, it got messier before it got clean. Okay, like it got all over the place. It was freaking wild. Okay, and I was laughing, and I was just like, this is such a funny moment in my periodhood. And I wanted to share that with my partner. But my partner is not as amused about periods as I am because, as you can tell, this is my special interest. And this, like, partner was not, like, super supportive of my special interest, okay? And I was like, oh my god, like, this just happened. And they were just like, oh my god, I keep saying they because I'm thinking about another ex, but he's he. Um, and he was just like, yeah, that's so crazy. Um, what happened? And they're like, oh, that sucks. And I was just like, yeah, it was actually kind of funny because it really just slipped out of my hand and it was really comical. It was kind of like one of those like it was like kind of like some weird like feminist rom-com where you drop your diva cup and they were just like not amused. And then I like kept talking about it. I was just like, I can't believe that happened to me. That was just so funny. And they were like, okay, dead ass, this is what he said. He was like, you seem like you're proud of it. And it was like, well, it was just really funny. But like, what the fuck, yes, I am proud of it, okay? I'm proud of clumsily dropping my diva cup. That's why I'm sharing it with you all. Um, he was not amused and like by my stories, but I was like, I was the one that had to like do it and clean it. It's such a big part of my life, okay? Like, I'm allowed to make a big deal about it. But I did not say that. At that time, I was just like, you know what? You are not the person to talk about, like, okay, just because of your response, you are clearly not the person for for so many reasons, not the person to spend my life with. So many reasons that I'm not going to go into. But like, B, you're not the person I'm going to be talking to about this because you don't understand why I'm making a big deal about it, because it's actually a big part of my life and it's a funny period story. And it's like, when you have a period each cycle, there's always like one thing that sticks out like about your last period. You know, when you're at the doctor and they're like, when was your last period? And you're like, huh. And you're like thinking about things that stuck out well, now I always know the day, but like, like before, you're like, what was something that stuck out about my period so I could remember the date? That was definitely one of those things. And that's something that he's not gonna get. Um, someone just be like, if someone were to ask me, like, what happened, like, when was your last period? And I would be like, oh, well, let me tell you, I remember my last period because blah, 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 blah. Same with this. Like today, I'm going to always remember this period because I went to the beach and I had a mental breakdown yesterday. So, I'm always going to remember it. But that's my period story, and it's about Diva Cup. I did really like Diva Cup for all the reasons that I said, except for that it was suctioning and on my IUD and makes me cramp, and that's why I use Bam Body now. And yeah, but that's my story about spilling my Diva Cup. Oh, instead of my soundboard, I'm gonna press this button. The world is full of beautiful things like you. Thank you. I loved that. I hope that translated because it's kind of like, But yeah, so that's that segment. That's my story of the day. I'm really excited to share more stories because I have a huge list, and like, I don't know, just to give you like a sneak peek of what's to come on my stories. It's like getting sober while bleeding and changing rehabs while bleeding and getting a UTI, or my first period, Skype sex while on period, bleeding after an IUD implantation, getting massaged while bleeding, dancing while bleeding, mistakes that I had when I was on my ovulation phase and just really wanting to hook up with someone, and rituals done on my cycle. Yeah. So there's more really fun stories that I want to tell you about. But until next time, let's go to my other segment and we'll revisit some period stories next time, okay? So, today's menstruation product review is hopefully you got the theme of the day, which is the Diva Cup. Diva Cup. Diva Cup is a Canadian-owned business. It's a mostly widely known name brand period cup. There's many other types of period cups, and I would suggest you look at more if you're interested in the period cup, or if you're like, it didn't really work for me, I would suggest going and looking at other menstrual cups because there's different shapes and mostly different shapes. So just go look, okay? Shapes and colors, okay? Shapes and colors. If you were like, this one's clear and I want a purple one, go do it. Canadian-owned business. On their site, they talk about how it's really eco-friendly, that each person has about 300 pounds of waste from period products in their lifetime. 300 pounds. They talk about like it's cost effective, like they're, can range, like depends on where you get them because you can get them at the store. Like I've seen some Diva Cup name brand Diva Cups at the store. Up to 12-hour protection, BPA free. It's made out of surgical grade silicone. Yeah. You can wash it, so like they sell like a little soap that you can use. That's because the thing is, you really want like fragrance-free, chemical-free soap for this product if you go the soap way. But yeah, you can just like rinse it and wash it, and when you're using it, like you can boil it between menstrual cycles. Some people do and some people don't. There are two different, for Diva Cup specifically, just for Diva Cup, they have like a couple different models, but really it's kind of like sizes because they have like one for people before you have a child, I guess, and so a younger a younger uterus, and then one for like 30 and over that have a heavier menstrual flow, so they're just like slightly bigger. Yeah, so like they'll say like after a pregnancy, they'll say just later in life, or if you have just a really wicked heavy flow, they have like these two different models. I got the younger model, and it was still okay. Like if on my heaviest day, I probably filled the whole thing up, but it was usually fine. It did have a few leaks here and there, but I think it was just a placement thing and an activity thing. So many people, it'll be like about $40, give or take. A lot of people, so this is just like what I've heard. So you can clean it with the soap and rinse it, dry it, pop it back in there. You can also just rinse it with water, pop it back in there. Wipe it down. If you're in like a stall and you can't like just go bring your period cup and go in the stall and wash it, or some other weird bathroom situation where the sink is outside, whatever. I've had people say that they'll just like wipe it with some toilet paper on the inside and just like put it back in. And I've done that and was fine. Some people say, so like some people will like rinse it with like hot water and they'll like leave it out, they'll dry it, they'll have it to dry. And they won't like, so like there's some people that will just boil it like once a year, maybe. Okay. Some people wash it like every cycle. So I would try to do that every cycle, like a good boil. Um, I think it helped with like the discoloration because Diva Cup comes in just like a clear color, and so like you'll see it get discolored a little bit from just like the different pH. I mean, you know that you don't. I don't know if you know. Actually, you might not know. It can change colors. And sometimes like just like even vaginal discharge will cause things to change colors. Um, because of the pH. Things can be more acidic or basic, and it can cause clothes to change colors, diva cups to change colors, all this stuff. It would be okay. Oh my god, this would probably be a really expensive like menstrual cup idea, but like you know those things that when you touch them, they change color to the warmth, or like those nail polishes that change color, like mood rings. What if you had like a mood diva cup, and like it would like change colors over time, but like it made it like fun, you know, like a mood menstrual cup, and it's like your period today was purple, your period this month turned the diva cup bright red, and it was just like fun. It was like my period this month was like yellow, and it was just, you know what I mean? I think that's a really cute idea. It makes it fun. I have no idea how one would execute that because that sounds insane and would be an insane piece of silicone to use. So, um, but you know, could be. So I'm gonna review other types of menstrual cups. I'm gonna review other types of tampons. I'm gonna review other types of period underwear. Right now I'm wearing my Bam Bodies. So yeah, we'll get into more stuff. But for now, let's go to our last segment. Um, yeah. Before that, also, let's take a deep breath. Because I'm all really active and lubricated right now, and I'm just really happy that I'm doing the pod. Yes, I'm gonna take my hat off for some hair reveal. For people who are just listening, I took off my hat. Okay. We're gonna talk about this really fun piece of history. It's about this thing. Last week we talked about Lister's towels. Let's talk about before Lister's towels, or like how people kept these towels in place. It was in the 1890s, and people used this thing called, actually wait, no, it wasn't in the 1890s. It wasn't the period pants. We're going to talk about period pants. Elastic. Okay, we're talking today about ladies' elastic doily belt. Okay? And it's a silk and elastic belt, and you attach a pad to it. And antiseptic and absorbent pads were introduced around the same time. I think it was around the 1890s because people were doing like using like gauze and stuff. But before that, people were just using cloth that they would make. And so like, yeah, it was like between like the 1850s to early 1900s, people started making different products. You know what was crazy? It's like there's so many menstrual products. So we're gonna have a lot of fun with this menstrual history. But today we're just focusing in on the 1890s. Yeah, it's the 1890s. Okay, we're talking about the 1890s and the ladies' doily belt. So it's a belt that just like it literally like goes just like across the waist like a belt, but then like right here has a clip, and then right in your butt crack has a clip, and those clips get onto these sanitary napkins, serviettes, and so you clip those on, and that's how the pad stays in place. And yeah, it's like an adjustable belt, and it seems very I mean, telling of the time people were wearing those things that like hold up your socks. You know what I'm saying? This little clip. They were using like the same thing to clip up and hold up your socks before like elastic socks. So like I can imagine why they would do this. They're like same thing. Instead of like holding up socks, they're gonna, or like suspenders holding up your pants. They're like same deal. Let's do the same thing for pads. I'm gonna read one of the ads from this time period that you would see in the newspaper, and that describes this product. Okay. Ladies, spelled Ladie apostrophe S. Is that how you spell ladies? I don't know. I don't usually spell that, but it's like apostrophe S. Ladies doily belt. Made of soft sateen and silk with rubber band. Sounds hot. An almost necessary, almost, not certainly, almost necessary article for the ladies during their menstrual period for the convenience of attaching the napkin or pad. It is easily adjusted and will not interfere with other garments. Each with 2 cotton shield or pads, 40 cents. Each with 2 cotton shields or pads. You only get 2? Anyway. And then it goes on to another section that says sanitary napkins, serviette, or serviette, I don't know. Antiseptic and absorbent pads made from cotton gauze and bandages rendered antiseptic, a convenient and healthy substitute for the old-style napkin, highly recommended by all prominent medical authorities. Their cheapness, their cheapness, combined with their downy softness, absorbent and antiseptic properties, recommend them for regular use, and they are especially convenient and healthy when traveling. Price: a box of 1 doze, D-O-Z. Anyway, price of 1, 40 cents. And it shows like a picture, and it's exactly what I said. I saw this really funny blog when I was looking up information about these things on Bustle. It was Gabrielle Moss. Gabrielle Moss put on one of these things and wore it. So like goes through the process of like finding it. Like they had to go through all of this, like they had to figure out where they could possibly buy these things, and then buy the pads that you can clip on, because they were special pads that you clipped on. And like, yeah, very very funny. You can't, and the thing is like with these belts, you can't really wear tight clothing with them because you can see through, like, and see. So you have to like plan to wear loose clothing if you wore this, which makes it very unsexy. Even though it says it's all lace and it's like doily, it's not. It's not. It just looks like a it really just looks like one of those things that holds up your socks, like those little, like, it really just looks like a elastic belt that holds things up. And then, like, I imagine, like, it would hold the pad really close to your body. I mean, as it should be. I mean, underwear does that too, but I feel like it would be really uncomfortable because you'd get like a wedgie with period blood. It'd be like a freaking diaper rash. But the thing is, this product. So I'm talking about like in the 1890s. People still use similar products for after pregnancy because of like you guts and stuff are coming out of you and stuff. I don't know, but you have. I mean, so people still like wear stuff like this to help them after those kinds of procedures. Um, but the last ladies' elastic doily belt is totally, I think, one of its kind just because of the name, which just makes it very. I cannot imagine myself saying, "Let me get my ladies' elastic doily belt." I just had my beer, you know. Uh, but I think they tried so hard to remove or make something like make it completely removed from what it's for, like making it like Lister's house or elastic doily belt. You would have no idea what the hell you were talking about if you had to say that in front of somebody, or if you're looking, oh, do you have elastic doily belts at the store? Yes, we do, right this way. And they have no idea what it's for, like you would have no idea. I would love a product that's just like blood catchers by Bloodstained, just like, I don't know. I I was thinking, okay, I have this idea that you can tell me if it's a good idea or not. Write in! Do you think this is a good idea? Reusable pads, because I like reusable stuff. Reusable pads, and we'll talk about that in another episode, that say Bloodstained on it. On the pad. Then you clip it in, and it says Bloodstained. And, yeah, it's literally gonna get bloodstained. Tell me what you think. If I made merch, if I made these period pads, never mind, don't even say. Just tell me if you think it's a fun idea. I think it's a fun idea. I don't know if anyone else thinks it's a fun idea. But, anyway, this was me on my cycle. Day 2, bleeding, cramping, feeling a lot better from yesterday's meltdown. Yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say, I think. Yeah, no, that's all I gotta say. So, in closing, I feel better from bleeding. I spilled my Diva cup once. We talked about the Diva cup and the elastic doily belt, and yeah. So, yeah, next week. I don't know why I'm saying next week. I don't know when I'm gonna do this. I'm not trying to make it a thing. But we'll talk about the follicular phase and just some more fun stories that you get to look forward to, and I hope you like it. And because I'm having so much fun, and I'm really just happy to do this and happy to be here, and happy that if you're watching from YouTube, you get to see the womb room. This is what we call the womb room, because there's like a red couch and red curtains and like red tablecloths, and just it's filled with like books and instruments, and yeah, so you get to see a little piece of it on YouTube. Go check it out. And we call it the womb room. I didn't call it that, but I was like, that's a perfect place to record this pod. So anyway, and you get to see my visuals when I show you this is my body 2 days in my cycle. So go if you like watching me talk and get just be here. You could check it out on the YouTube channel, Bloodstained. I love you all. I'm really happy to be doing this. I'm really happy to make episode 2. So thank you for, if you stayed tuned, like, thank you. I'm glad to have witnesses, but also just glad to do this, seriously. I just like to have a place to dish it all out, so I super appreciate it, and I love you all very much, so I hope you're having a good cycle, or just a good day, and talk to you soon. I don't know why I'm going like higher like that. Okay, anyway, end of episode.